What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the 6th album by rapper Cameron. Basically this product is called Crime Pays and it came out in the spring of 2009. So the thing about this product here is just the fact that Cameron had taken a decent break away from like the spotlight and pitches like that after he dropped Kill a Season in the spring of 2006, which did decently. But apart from like the lead single Touch It or Not with Lil Wayne, which is some pretty good type verse and like a ringtone, a blossoming kind of ringtone rap era, it felt like particularly that album was just a lot quieter within the shift behind it than it probably needed to be. And that was probably a quieter album than it needed to be within the pitch. Now New York hip hop and things like that, more lyrical type folks, are not selling as full bound largely around that time. Now Cameron at least snagged a good pretty much primary Lil Wayne within those pitches, which was a good look for that album as far as what's going to happen. But the other singles, apart from Touch It or Not, did not do as terrifically. There were at least the other two singles from Kill Season didn't do that terrifically, and really Touch It or Not didn't really do that terrifically either, too full-boundedly within the pitch. It was a big deal of a song, made enough social commotion, but it was just not, it's just kind of the pitch behind it. Just for Cameron, considering that he usually was at like the pinnacle of swag rap pitches like that, should have did a lot better, but he kind of took a break after that. Now he did drop a mixtape in 2007, some of those type pitches. He got into a beef with 50 Cent at the beginning of 2007, which kind of popped off halfway, at least in the springs, at least in the winter and spring side of 2007. But I remember Cameron saying in like some videos like on YouTube or something like that, that he said it was going to be a hot summer, and then he just vanished within those appeals. But he did drop a mixtape in the fall of 2007 that was kind of what he was up to. But then I remember picking up or reading like a XXL, some of those type fairs that had particularly said that when he came back to the scene in early 2009, that his mother had had a series of problems within some of those type pitches, so he took off 2008 and the 2007 type fair to take care of his mother pitches like that, which is some good type aspects. But he came back to the scene in 2009. But by that particular time, Dipset had kind of crumbled a little bit. Basically, after the after effect of Kill Season kind of wore off, which was pretty much, Cameron was really not around that much in the fall of 2006 and the summer of 2006 pitches like that. So it was really left to folks like Juelz Santana and Jim Jones to take over, and Freaky Zeke as well, which they particularly did. But the thing about all three of those folks, Zeke, Juelz, and Jim Jones, they all kind of outshined Cameron in terms of like the commercial spotlight. All three of them got virtually more or less larger singles than Cameron did throughout his albums in the early 2000s, which was interesting with the pitch, especially Jim Jones. He particularly had hit singles like We Fly High, which hit pretty largely on the charts. Even though he was kind of seen as like a one-hit wonder, he still had some pretty good swag rap and just overall good album type. I reviewed a series of those. Juelz Santana had good star power, and he had good chemistry with Lil Wayne pitches like that, so he was doing good with things like Skull Gang, some of those type of appeals in the late 2000s. Freaky Zeke dropped an album which had some good aspects. I reviewed that back in that review got posted in early June. So this kind of the appeal that the Dipset crew minus Cameron were doing pretty excellently, but within the pitch, none of those folks are on this particular album. So it's kind of the pitch. Cameron and Jim Jones had particularly had a pretty large beef within the aspect behind it. It's kind of a Cold War type thing, so none of those folks are on this album. But it is a pitch that Cameron was basically getting into like the mixtape scene. I mean, he had done that in 2007, possibly further back, but it's just kind of the appeal that Cameron was kind of a part of like the early 2010s mixtape type fair. He did do a mixtape later on in 2009 called Boss of All Bosses, which I reviewed, which is some pretty excellent type fair, good type pitch. Some of those, there's a series of those. I'm going to start getting to more of those. But so Cameron was a part of the early 2010s. He found a cat named Votto, which was pretty excellent. Some of those type products that he did, but it's kind of the fair as far as saying this was kind of his comeback album, similar to how Eminem took a series of years off around the late 2000s pitches like that. Cameron had taken a pretty decent sized break, but some excellent type feels getting this album. Now, more or less, this album is pretty arguable within the excellent type fair of it. There's 18 songs on this album, and out of those 18, I wound up recommending 13 and a half, which you would think, here's the thing about it, if I recommended 15 out of 18, this album would get a 10 out of 10, so it's within the pitch as far as saying you would think 13 and a half out of 18 would be more of like a 7 out of 10, but it's going to get a higher score within some of that fair, so it's just the pitch as far as saying, because basically 14 out of 18 would be like a 9 point something, so it's kind of within the pitch. You'll see what I give it soon, but this is a pretty banner type album. I go way back with this particular album, remember it from back in the day. Particularly, I want to say like on MTV pitches like that they played a couple videos, some of those type fairs. My Job was a particularly interesting type one because it tackles like the concept of a rap song from like the Office Space type format, just more like a blue collar and kind of cubicle type setting, pitches like that, some of those particular type fairs. Some of the other songs on this album, I mean, there's not a ton of songs like My Job within the more SFW makeshift type sense, but it's an interesting pitch because Cameron never did a song like that. But it's just some good type fairs, good good swirl of things on this particular album. Just has a good variety about things. This album is kind of differential with the guests on here. There are some there are kind of some extracurricular type folks kind of within the Dipset and Diplomats type fold, but within the pitch it's not as noteworthy as some of those type ones when you think of Hell Rel and Jim Jones and Joel Santana and Freaky Zeke, some of those type folks, and other folks like that, J.R. Ryder, some of those type folks. I wonder if J.R. Ryder's on here. I could look and the only real folk that feels familiar within some of these type of aspects is just 40 Cal, which I think I've particularly heard that name before. There's some starlets on here like Lady Lodi and Bird Lady, some of those type folks, and a cat named Schizo on here a couple of times, but I look at them pitch, not terribly much guest-centric with like the normal banner type appeal that Cameron had in the early 2000s. So it's not like he lost his luster. It's a good type one within the pitch, but this kind of was like a second wind to Cameron where he adapted to more of like the underground and kind of mixtape type scene, but it's still a good banner type album. It just didn't have any charting singles. But there really is full-bound charting singles, not within the same variety as he was back in 2002 and 2004, but still excellent type pitch is good type appeal. So My Job's lead single is like a grand workaday kind of switch up to kind of get here. Just Cameron kind of in like a blasé kind of straightforward aspect as far as what's going to happen. Just swag rap and like makeshift as far as what's going to happen. So basically, if you were to have like cubicle rap, some of those type pitches, just something that you would listen to every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday within those fairs that you would listen to either at 8 o'clock in the morning before going to work or 4 o'clock p.m. when you get off some of those type fairs is kind of the pitch. It's basically Cameron with his swagged out type appeal doing some of those type formats, just making a rap song within some of that type parading and like something within the sensible, kind of more SFW type sense. So it's a good type pitch, not as complex, not a ton of rap folks really did something within these formats. You know, you didn't get a Jay-Z song like this, he probably would have been more white collar. It was just within the pitch as far as saying just the conduct as far as kind of an underappreciated type context for the most part. I mean, I think within the aspect of the things I reviewed, I'm sure you could find some songs within those aspects kind of within those tones behind it, but it's just not a super commonplace. You know, Jeezy, Lil Flip, Trick Daddy, some of these type folks didn't have those within those particular aspects. Other folks, Lil Wayne, some of those type folks, it's just the pitch as far as saying, but I look after a good, excellent type song within pitch behind it, just straightforward within aspect. Get It in Ohio is a real excellent type one, though. This is a Goliath of a song, real beastly within aspect. Really like the tone of this, like a classic kind of late 2000s kind of hustle hour, I'd have to say within the aspects of it here. Good get to it kind of pitches like that, just a send off to like some 2010s mixtape glitz, I'd say within the aspect of it, just real red hot type one within the aspect. This is the other side of the coin where it's just more in like a kind of contemporary type sense amidst the format of like the booming kind of market and like the underground type fair and the more hungry type sense, where My Job is more blue collar type makeshift. I'd say Get It in Ohio is more hustlers makeshift within the format. It is something, it kind of like, it more or less kind of has these moments, not like it's on one side of the coin or the other where there's SFW and then hustlers type ones within the fair, but it's just kind of the product of getting things on the other side of the market where that kind of particular fair kind of tending to like more urban and street type fair within the context of having those particular products for like the blossoming mixtape scene compared to My Job kind of doing it in the SFW type format. So a good type pitch, but is Cameron kind of in his prime doing that particular fair, just a second win of what he'd been up to since not really having a charting single for the most part since early 2006, so good type appeals for that. Like I was saying, real beastly mixtape highlight, and then Cookies and Apple Juice is a real nice one. This has some good type fairs, being the third single here. This is like Cameron trying out some late 2000s kind of ringtone rap, I'd say, within the pitch behind it. This like a basic kind of skeletal dance hop as far as what's supposed to happen. He brings some extra folks along for the ride. One is Bird Lady, one is Schizo as far as those pairs going to happen within the pitch. But this particular song kind of more or less doesn't full-bound bite Soulja Boy within the pitch, but just has some aspects with the way Soulja Boy would kind of go you within the pitch as far as he'd particularly kind of do that. It just does that within that particular fair of like the choruses. This Cameron particularly trying that particular trend. It's basically Cameron trying out that trend of something that feels ripped out of 2007, 2008, some of that snap and ringtone type fair, considering that was the sort of things that were happening and popping off within the gap as to the last time he checked in with things. So it's a good type pitch, pretty blitzing type song. He handles that particular vibe pretty well within the aspect. Once again, it's three mishaps within these pitches. These were not bad songs within pitch, but these particular songs, just the chart appeal of them, the chart appeal of these songs just didn't happen for whatever reason, but it's just kind of it still was a pretty excellent comeback album for Cameron as far as these first guys. I'm very inspired just within the pitch. Some of Cameron's best singles, a lot of these are career standouts within the pitch bond. Definitely pretty contemporary, despite the fact that it didn't have like the radio type appeal like he did with Oh Boy and that other song like Hey Ma. Some of those type pitch does not mean that this is not quality within pitch, just more low key. Yeah, basically, like I was saying, I recommend every song off this product for the most part. It's basically 13.5 out of 18. So the 4 songs I don't recommend on here would be basically Got It For Cheap, Homicide, Like 4 songs would be Got It For Cheap, Homicide, Crime Pays the Intro, and then there's one other one. Oh yeah, Woohoo, as far as this pitch comes. So basically the pitch, some of these, like, particularly Woohoo is a song that almost was an almost song. This has a pretty catchy type production on here. Real jazzy and kind of breezy with an aspect like some city type fare. It's just the pitch of this would not have been a gimmick song if it would have just been a song that had standard raps on there. Waste kind of a 40 cal verse and a Bird Lady verse as far as those fares going to happen. If this had just been a song with an aspect that would have been in the normal type format, this would have been this album would have gotten a higher score within the pitch. Not like it's a horrible song, but it's just minor. It's just not as catchy with the affability behind it. Crime Pays the Intro just was not as sparky of like a real kind of kick off the album as far as those fares going to happen. There's a series of songs that are kind of more hustle bound within the pitch behind it. Some of these type ones like Cooking Up, Where I Know You From, have a little bit more grit about them, but there wasn't as much spark type fare to Crime Pays the Intro, which is unfortunate because the album title Crime Pays is a pretty excellent name within those pitches. The product is just a good quality. Kind of like when Eminem came back on the scene with the album Relapse, just the pitch, that was a pretty slick album name within the pitch as far as this was going to happen. Just the pitch behind knocking out that particular title, but it just didn't nail the appeal like that particular aspect. It was not as candid an intro. And then the two other songs, Homicide and Got It For Cheap, are just kind of like some operatic type ones that just didn't really have as much catchiness about them. It's just kind of pitch as far as saying that these were just kind of like the song, kind of like Writer's Block by Royce the 5'9", that just had a lot of scratchy and kind of abrasive type templates about them that just were not as like melodic and really had the chorus like much synchronization in terms of like something sparky. It just kind of reminds us. It's kind of some loud kind of opera theater like music that reminds like the 300 movie that just kind of has like that kind of bravado-ness about it, but just doesn't really get the blood pumping in too much of a format that's really that ritzy or anything like that I'd say. But the Never Ever is the almost song. So when I said 13.5 out of 18, this is the song that I'm on the fence about. But Never Ever is good within a mostly sense, but it's just kind of the product of it. This reminds like More Reasons from the 2004 album Purple Haze that I had to say is like a theater and kind of chill song. Reminds me of like a theater and kind of chill, giddy kind of step out. I had to say here, it's a giddy type song with this kind of picture, just not being spastic and kind of like goof prone within it. Just kind of picture, just kind of chill within aspects of the giddy format of it. But it's like some city snaps kind of get here just amidst like the Starry Nights pitches like that. I feel like the particular song that just nailed this salingly better was when Cameron did this with More Reasons with Jaheim from 2004. That just had a catchier beat. Just the affability behind that one was just a lot more smooth. To feel this, the beat riff on Never Ever is just not as composed. It's like a retread of that particular fare, but somehow the catchiness, I realized trying to bring back some of those type vibes from those particular days, but just the connect behind it, I would have figured, considering some of the productions on here, that would have had like, even if he would have just used that beat again, did like a revamp of it the way like he did with Adrenaline Rush by Twisted, some of those type fares, I just feel like maybe he should just use that beat again. It's a decent type moment, good enough to mostly recommend, but I just don't know the commonplace if I would listen to it like every crop time when it were to pop up within some type pitches. I probably would find myself more often like listening to More Reasons within those pitches, but still a decent type song most within pitch. But yeah, so me recommending basically 13.5 out of 18. I'm going to give this album like an 8.75 out of 10, because if it was 14 out of 18, it'd get a 9.25 within those appeals. Not quite a 9.5, 9.75, but just in the pitch as far as saying, be within the relative variety, that 14 out of 18 is a lot higher within the fold. Consider I usually give albums at least 3 songs before I don't give it a 10. So it's this pitch as far as saying 8.75, real excellent, just blistering type 1 beefed up album that has a lot of good songs on here. Some of these type ones, like Where I Know You From, is a real excellent one. This is like a Liddy retread of like a 2000s trap type tune pitch like that. If you remember, I think it's Get Your Mind Right by Jeezy off of his Thug Motivation 101. So excellent type pitch. It's just that same sort of warped, kind of garbled, kind of murkiness about that song. Just Cameron doing a good aspect about that. Just great song to get blitzed to step out in like the late scene. It has to say pretty raw type one. So Cameron turns this into some excellent kind of swag rap. Basically, if you like Jeezy's kind of talk with his normal type fare, it's just the aspect of getting Cameron just a little bit more snarly, a little bit more with the aspect, a little bit more snare about it within the pitch as far as just saying more vicious, just kind of the tone of like some good swag rap kind of lyricism kind of go along with it. This has a little bit more kind of veneer about it, so I like the pitch behind that. Kind of more in your face, like the tone, not quite as murky. Curve is a nice one. This is probably one of my more favorite songs. I go back with the song Excellent Type of Appeal. It's like a nice dramatic and harrowing kind of club night to kind of get here. Just refreshing and kind of original within these pitches. So not a ton of club songs within that dramatic type fashion. Just a real pacey type one that kind of feels amidst the traverse of either getting to the nightclub in a more kind of in like a night shift type sense, just to miss the bustle of the road, or just kind of miss the pitch, or just more kind of in a dramatic kind of like paranoia type fashion, something that Tupac would kind of do, but just a little bit more New York City kind of snap at it. And it's like some good socialized kind of get here with your pals, pitches like that, just have the goodies out, some of that fares within pitch. Hell, drink some of that fares, hypnotic vodka, some of these type pitches within the product, Hennessy, all that good stuff, some of that fares, just to miss the product, like standard socialized, just in more night glimmer as far as this first happens. So this is definitely an album standout on here. Some of these type pitches. Now I realize that most of the songs do kind of have some differential type tones about it. For the most part, you get a different variety amongst a lot of these tones about this album. So if you want another song like Get It in Ohio, that's really one of the few ones that's kind of like that on here. There's not another song like Cookies and Apple Juice. There's not another song like My Job. The Blue Collar song is not another song like the Heroin kind of curve pitches like that. And it's just kind of pitch, but it does have some vibrancy kind of about it. So it's just the pitch of getting a good compactness, just having a lot of differential type aspects within it. Spend the Night's pretty dope as well. It's like a balmy kind of night scene, I'd have to say here. Just some city gliss. I would definitely feel like this date night, kind of carnival-like, similar to that Ferris within the pitch, things like that. Just kind of some dope parading, I'd have to say, within the aspects of it. Kind of some basic glamour as far as those Ferris can happen. So just some step out just within like more Pink Skies kind of malaise pitches like that. It's kind of a gleeful kind of it's kind of some gleeful kind of night gallivants as far as those Ferris can happen. It has a pretty good hook on here. On top of that, some good type pitches like that. Just overall blissful type one. Chalupa is nice as well. It's like a getting loud, kind of feeling tripped out, kind of smoke fest kind of get here. Just really red eyes pitches like that. I feel like this is like a vintage kind of 2000s camera on some of those fares. Probably needed some Dipset members. That's one thing about this album, like I was saying, is just the fact that there's no Jim Jones whatsoever. Joel Santana. It's too bad that he was going through the bickering with some of these type folks, because there are some moments that probably could use like Max B or Jim Jones, folks like that, even Joel Santana, Freaky Zeke, some of those type folks. None of those folks are particularly on here whatsoever. Would have been a good type pitch to have for some of these type ones. Chalupa would be a good one for that. Who would be a good one for that? I would say Max B definitely should have been on You Know What's Up. Some of those type pitches very much reminds like the days from 2005, 2006 with him. Some pitches like that. Silky probably would have been a nice one for Jim Jones. This is a pretty social type song. Chalupa's pretty social type song. So just to miss the pitch, it just having like some loud pack powwows coming with your pals, pitches like that, hell swishers going, just in a red eyes type stuff. Silky's a quality one. This is vintage kind of Cameron within these pitches, just some of those theater type aspects. Something flamboyant and fashionist like Kanye West, some of those type folks would kind of do. It's like a good day shift kind of city struts kind of get here. Just grab like some Quiznos and other goodies, pitches like that. Just miss the product like city and out and about. So it's like a good simp and parlay type definitely like a good simp and parlay type song with the pitch behind it. Just some daytime charm as far as this pitch can happen. Now, definitely some daytime charm as far as this pitch can happen. Now, the thing about Cameron is he's kind of similar to like Afro Man, some of those type folks that do have a little bit more gab centric type stuff. So it's kind of within the pitch that when you see him going out and about, he's not someone who's going to be kind of more like, I forget the phrase that. He's not more agoraphobic and going to avoid conversation. It's kind of missed the pitch that he'll probably have like a 5 or 8 minute conversation with you, pitches like that. At least the Cameron from 2004, 2003, I realize he was probably like that also in 2009, but he did kind of rescind from society a little bit in the late 2000s. So it's this kind of pitch of whether or not that particular fair, whether he was still like that in 2009. But it's just kind of the fair. Some of that leftover is kind of on here, so it's good type of appeal. There are some social moments, like I feel like Chalupa is pretty social, Silky's pretty social, Curve's pretty social, Cookies and Apple Juice pretty social. Some of those type ones. Who is pretty social as well. Pitches like that, so good type fairs. But Cooking Up is a nice one within these pitches as well. It's like amidst like the 2010s trap and mixtape grind to kind of get here. It's kind of knee deep in some bustle, I'd have to say, dismiss the product. It's something that feels like something Yo Gotti, Meek Mill, some of those type folks would have done 2010, 2011. It's like easily like some late shift kind of clockwork as far as those pitches can happen. So I do like the pitch of getting like this mixtape kind of grit and I do like the pitch of getting like this mixtape kind of grit and hunger as far as this first going to happen, just to miss like the fair of what was particularly getting ready to happen. It's kind of like some early bird type stuff. It's kind of the pitch of that's what folks were kind of up to in like the more hungry side of things. Usually kind of some cold grind as far as this fair is going to go along with it. Who is a nice one as well within the pitch of it. This like a combo with Chalupa, I'd have to say here. Less druggy, not quite as red out. Less druggy, not quite as red eyes, but loud and a half venue-like social kind of get within these aspects. Just some white noise about it. I had to say easy within the pitch behind a good song to toke too. Yeah, Who is just some commotion noise within some of those pitches within the fair behind it. It's kind of a product of this kind of things being kind of more or less loud and crowd. It's kind of some city loud pack kind of crowded pitches like that within those fairs, but not, I mean, when I say half venue is kind of the pitch, not necessarily where it's going to be, realizing that some of these type fairs are real kind of low key within the sense to be full bound kind of bleeds all these years later within the pitch, but it's definitely within the noise that just like some city product that likes some good. This is a pretty contemporary type song from Cameron within those pitches as far as getting to those products of talking about like something within the aspect of like something with step out type fashions within the appeal. Pretty much apart from songs like Cookies and Apple Juice, Curve, Get It in Ohio, some of those type pitches, just further type fair for like the commotion, needing more than a few smoke type sessions. Needing more than a few smoke type fashions from this particular album as far as this first album, but it probably, I think within a lot of senses, this would easily be, I think easily enough within some loud pack type fashions, this would be a good product to have for like some venues within a certain type sense, depending upon, I mean, New York's big enough, some of those type places, more popular places, big enough to have some of these within After Effects, despite the fact that it's 16 years old. Definitely probably a good relative staple within those pitches back in the day, but good type fair just in this album cut type fashion. You Know What's Up's a quality one as well as like a neighborhood jazz and parlay to kind of get here. This reminds of like Max B and Jim Jones type products, some of those type pitches. Both those folks probably should have been on a song like this. This one, the product just feels very reminiscent of those days from 2006. Some of that bears the cat that does the hook on You Know What's Up. Very much is similar to Max B. This like a good house party type vibe within it here. Just have some Red Cups pitches. Have some Red Cups pitches like that. So this easy kind of localized type noise within the pitch, more residential bound within the product, but this is a good kind of sleazy type one to get tore up to within a pitch. Not as, I mean, I feel like this album kind of more or less does have the smoke type fair, but it's actually not as full bound kind of carnage within aspects as far as those tones can happen. Just has a lot more weaving within aspects as far as those tones can happen. Just to miss the product to kind of, yeah, it's actually just more of like a chatty kind of like gab type project within the pitch as far as this first going to happen. Just amidst like, it's kind of missed some congregation pitches like that, I'd say, within the aspects as far as those tones can happen. So good type fair, but so there are plenty of moments to kind of have like the aspect of like, there are plenty of songs that have for like occasions, pitches like that. Get It's in our quality ones, like a basic local fashions kind of have here, just some house clean and extra moments, pitches like that. Just kind of some solo tokes, just basically smoking a joint or two by yourself, pitches like that, just to miss the fair, just kind of not. This particular song's good for a few solo tokes, just having a few on your own as far as those pitches can happen, just figuring out the night as far as those pairs can happen. So dismiss the pitch and just like kind of extra. This is kind of like a spare type song with the pitch. It's a good type fashion behind it, but it's not really so much of like a connect or the real aspect like a glitz or just extra glamour type fashion. Just kind of product of this like kind of almost kind of rumination, but it's a spare type product that just kind of has some extra type fair, just the pitch of just kind of like a mild kind of hustle type song, but not so much amidst like the kind of flexing muscle grind about it, just in the fair behind it, just kind of maybe just getting ready to go to like a simple Quizno, something like that within the fair, but it's just extra type fashions. And then Bottom of the Pussy is a quality one as well. Excellent type pitch for this. Like a blues for divas, I'd say within the product of it here. And I don't mean so much being lustful and pitches like that. I mean the product that more the bellas in mind would kind of be more bluesy within the fashion. It's kind of like After Effect, just a somber song from the female point of view as far as this pitch can happen. Just kind of like some day drink and reflect, kind of get here within the aspects of it. It's kind of a bittersweet kind of after moments, I'd have to say here. Kind of a zingy type song within pitch. So just the product, just, you know, jabs left and right, some of those type pitches within this the fair. More or less kind of a bicker type song, but just more within the success product. Not so much, this is more on the positive side of the coin of having girl problems as far as those pairs can have. Not so much the child support and the bickering and the date problems and the money problems, pitches like that, but just the problem of like divas kind of getting on your nerves, pitches like that, just the extra type fair. Going within some of those type products is just good type pitch, like I said, zingy type song within those aspects of it. Now I think I did talk about Never Ever as far as that being the almost song. So that's the pitch as far as those pairs gonna happen. Just to miss the product of getting this here. So yeah, I'd particularly say 8.75 the sound gets within the product. Just a few spare songs that just within the aspect that just did not have as much connect within full boundness. But this is pretty vibrant type album. Definitely some city type fair and kind of the aspect of getting to New York hip hop around the late 2000s is kind of the pitch to that particular era stuff between Jadakiss and Cameron. Some of those type folks, Chic Luch, some of those type folks are kind of grafting towards the mixtape type scene that was getting ready to blow up in the early 2010s, pitches like that. So it's kind of the fair that Cameron adapted that pretty well. There's some hungry songs on here within pitches like that, but it's also, like I was saying, pretty social type product as to how it did it. Definitely some daytime and evening time kind of city sleeps in the product, and even some night sludge in there as well within the aspects of just having some sparkiness. But it's not, I mean, the product of it, you do get tore up in the sense within the product having like some socialized type fair, but it's really more of like a social kind of occasion of getting tore up more so than the full bound pitch. It just like designated to kind of having like these moments as far as just it's not as much house party kind of blitzers pitches like that. So it's just within the appeal, it's just kind of saying it's just a very active album within the pitch. So it's a good type product. Definitely like the tone behind that as far as those pairs can have. So just very very much in the commotion things that I'd say within those pitches. So yeah, in terms of the future, like Cameron has dropped stuff in recent times as far as what's first going to happen. I forget his full bound, but he has dropped down in the 2020s pitches like that. There's a series of these. He was active throughout the 2010s as well, plenty of those type fairs. I am going to start getting back to some of those Boss of All Bosses mixtapes and the album he did with Votto around those times, Guns and Butter, some of those type pitches. We're going to get to some of those within the formats, but I definitely want to get to this particular album. Definitely some banner type appeal. More or less kind of an arguable type classic. Definitely a great comeback album within the pitch. Like I said, 8.75 is kind of right on the cusp of being like a full-blown kind of classic, maybe just a song or a half song shy of like that full-blown kind of blistering type appeal, but definitely the singles are all pretty banner within the pitch. It's too bad that the casual connect was just not higher within those pitches behind it, but still excellent type fair within the product. Just a good look, a lot further and better than what it probably could seem to be that it's not within those pitches.